All right, good afternoon, everybody. Leighton here from Haven Overland. And, I have not been very good about updating my build thread on Tacoma World. So I just thought that I would make a little video for you all that were following along with my build out of my Vagabond Drifter Tacoma setup here. So I think kind of where I left it on the build thread was just that I had designed the boxes here and was working on cladding them with the dye bond panels and all that. So that's all together. Got the lids on here and everything. Basically, the way I wanted this set up was so that I could access, the inside of these boxes from the side hatches here. So basically, the lids are not attached with any hinges or anything. They just kind of lift up, and that way you can get into and out of them from either inside or outside of the camper. I've got my fridge up there in the front, the Iceco fridge, and I didn't quite work with the bench on the right hand side here for the display. It kind of blocked part of the display there. So basically all I did was I just made a little partition wall there and kind of relocated the display there. And that all seemed to work out pretty well. And then behind the fridge here, I've got my front runner water tank. That's, I think, about a 10-gallon water tank. It's a little bit of a pain to fill that. I mean, if you wanted to just use city water, you could go and just open the hatch and, fill it from a garden hose or that kind of thing. But we like to use pre-filtered water from our filter in our house. So I usually end up trucking water up and down from the house filter with just a jerry can. But anyway, this lid right here opens up, and I've got the water pump in there. It's also where we store our cooktop and butane stove and stuff. So the water pump, just simple system. It's connected that down there to the water tank, and then I'll show you where the hose comes out here, right there. And then I've just got a little quick connect for a shower sprayer, that kind of thing. This is not quite how I'd want to leave it. I would like to, mount it somewhere in the bench here. I like the idea of it being, close to this hatch here so that you can shower outside if you needed to, or that kind of thing. I might even run the line back here so that I could just put a water pump switch and quick disconnect there as well. But continuing on here, basically, the benches are pretty simple. It's the same kind of design on either side. I wanted to go with a symmetrical design, and that's worked out really well for us. Basically, we just end up pulling our cookware and stove out of the front there, and then just on this side we just do our cooking, sit on one side, cook on the other, and we'll just open up a hatch so that the butane stove doesn't make it too gassy in here or anything like that. So cool thing right here, I just got this installed, and basically my diesel heater is plumbed to the outside diesel tank here. The heater itself was in this box that you see here, but I have something cool to show you. This is a project from my friend Brian, and basically he makes this box to where you can mount it in the cubby, and the diesel heater just mounts right in there, and I just have my air duct plumbed right out the top of my bench here. So pretty cool. I can just flip on my diesel heater and the air blows straight up, up towards the bed, and heats everything up really well. It was actually really awesome. This past weekend we were in Idaho doing some winter camping, hot springs tripping, that kind of stuff, and it was about probably negative 10 degrees, I think, is what the coldest night was. And even without the insulation package in here, we were nice and toasty warm. So there was a little bit of condensation without the insulation, up towards like the foot of the bed and that kind of thing, but I think that's kind of par for the course. So moving on here, next thing I guess to show you guys would be this, bed system. I think you may have seen the video from when I originally designed this bed system for the bed lift, but this is kind of my second iteration of it. I built the first version for my friend Brian, and they're basically the same, only difference is this version takes advantage of Vagabond's new bed panel, where it uses the full bed panel instead of I think the original one they were using was like a welded frame kind of panel. And that means that it's actually, cheaper for me to produce because I can just trim down the edges of that Nitaplast panel and reuse that for this system. So basically just an aluminum frame, has some gas struts mounted there in the corners, and I'll show you how that works here. Basically, all you gotta do, okay, sorry about that, I accidentally stopped the video there. Anyway, I was about to show you, all you gotta do is release these latches, lock them back in the back position here. When you do that, the bed does still support itself, just because, it's one long framework and half of it goes over the cab over there. So basically it supports itself. It's a little bit floppy, but then you just give it a lift and the gas struts take care of the rest. So yeah, it gives you a good amount of space up front here to store, your stuff up over the cab over while you're in here cooking around in bad weather or that kind of thing. So yeah, that's that bed system. And then pretty simple, just give it a little tug, bring it down, and then you'll just lock those panels, latches back in place. Nice and solid there. So it does still give you, a decent amount of space. I haven't measured what exactly this is to the back here, but I don't use the bed extension panel. Personally, I'm about, about 5'10", 5'10 and a half, something like that. And I, didn't seem to have any issues with the length or the, feet being tight at the front of the camper there. You could, if you wanted to, still use the bed extension, but my idea with this bed system was to be able to get rid of that so you don't have to lug it around. And so I just mounted, the bed a little bit farther back, and it could be, based on how tall you are, it could be mounted as, as far back as you want it to. So either way you wanted to do it would work. So, yeah, that's, I think about all I have to show you guys. I guess one more thing up here is that, I did have, Vagabond, bring the power lines into this front passenger corner here. And the reason for that is because I've got my auxiliary battery. It's behind the, rear passenger seat on the passenger side there. And so those lines from that auxiliary battery come up through the floor of the Tacoma bed through there. And then I just have a Blue Seas fuse panel right in there. So that seems to work well. I'm only running 12 volt right now. I don't have any sort of inverter that I'm using for anything. I haven't really found a need for that yet. But yeah, it seems to be all working pretty well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions about this setup or how I built any of it, I think I showed you, kind of how it was set up in the pictures and stuff, but I'll give you another little inside view here. It's just aluminum, it's a powder coated aluminum framework with the die-bond panels bonded to it. And yeah, then it's got the 1/2-inch Baltic birch with a melamine top on it. It's just a matte black melamine top. And as far as the aesthetic of it all, the truck is wrapped in the I believe it's called the gunmetal, matte gunmetal metallic color, and so I use that same wrap to wrap the bench seats there, just so everything matches really nicely with the outside of the truck here. So yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions on this whole setup, let me know. I'd be happy to answer any comments you have. All right, thanks for checking it out, guys.